transition to the modern energy in cooking, considering this is a very important topic, and today's topic is focused on the dairy. And I will be presenting some slides which we have prepared. Hope it is fine. And my screen is visible. So yeah. So we are talking about that talk series, and we are a modern energy cooking services program, and Finovista as the Indian partner for the program. Finovista is an Indian company. And the modern energy cooking services program, we call it a MECS program. It's a 5-year UK aid FCDO funded program to support and invest in clean cooking alternatives to achieve the transition from biomass to clean cooking. And the program is pioneered in 15 countries, Southeast Asia and Africa. When we run the program, we have the program has to have the very holistic approach. To provide the holistic approach, we are talking to the various stakeholders, bringing them on the common platform. Then we have deliverables. So sensitize the overall sector. So we are supporting the companies with the innovation management, pilot demonstrations, policy support, scale-up supports, ecosystem mapping, outreach promotion. And in a similar way, we are helping them in the market access to finance, access to technology. And we have a wide range of partners whosoever is talking about and have the common goal. We are talking to those people. And one of the most interesting aspects came in the entire program is India has the potential to become a global hub for clean cooking device manufacturing, and that's how the MECS programs look India. For doing this, we have a good success in India. MECS program partnered with the CII, that is Confederation of Indian Industries, the largest industry chamber, organized the design summit for the clean cooking devices and the 20th CII Design Summit in December 2020. There we also realized that the cooking devices required a lot of design aspects as a product innovation. And then while supporting this design, we have developed a supportive mechanism how we can support the ecosystem. So we are doing the innovation challenge management. We have a partner with two, but because of some financial budget cut, we're not able to pursue. We are providing the capacity development support, manufacturer setup and scaling up. We are providing go-to-market, large-scale procurement, like we are working with the ESL to promote the devices. We are working with the one of the startup called Mufla, who is the Global Leap Awardee winner in energy efficiency category. And we are helping this startup company to go to the market, tying up with a large retail format online, helping him in the performing the devices improvement. And one of the talk series which we have did in past has also provided the opportunity to another startup where the CESL, the Convergent Energy Services Limited, is the Government of India body, is talking to them for pilot of the solar cooking in Ladakh and Goa. We have some very good milestone, and the milestone is we are actually doing the mini survey on the mega kitchen. In India, the solar cooking is very prevalent, and we have about 12-13 mega kitchen which actually cook the food on the solar cooking. We are studying the compatibility and acceptability of electric pressure cooker in India, and the MECS has conducted a desk-based research in this area. We are also mapping the cooking culture study in India to understand the cooking fuel requirement, cooking habits, possible barrier, and transition to the cleaner energy. As a part of this, we did a study in key foods served in India as a staple and the popular food, trying to map with the other African and Southeast Asian cuisines. So the devices developed and available in India can be directly sold to those markets. And for doing the, we are organizing the lab level testing. We did some country mapping. We have mapped the 5 countries. The report will be available. We have also gave the suggestion to incorporate electric cooking in the national electric policy to boosting the nation's development. As we know, the India has already launched the Go Electric campaign. Under the Go Electric campaign, they are talking about promotion of electric vehicle and electric cooking. So this is the achievement we have till now as an overall nation. When we talk about the promotion of clean cooking, we wanted to have the regular engagement where people can come, talk about, share the opportunities, share the challenges, what works, what not works and all. So we are organizing 12 module of talk series in the transition to modern energy. We are picking up various topics which is relevant for promotion of this area. And out of the 12, we have already conducted the three talk series, and today is the 4th one. So in the past, we have developed the device design and innovation, barrier to scale up and possible solutions, opportunity for DISCOM in electric cooking. And today's session is focusing on the DRIs, as the DRI is one of the important aspects in the entire value chain. I will not take too much time on this, but some of the important factor here is that India has the huge installed capacity, and the government is also targeting for 24/7 power supply. And our renewable energy, even in the grid supply, is increasing on regular basis. The good point is that even every time I present, I have to go back to the government website, check the data. Data is always increasing, so it is good to be there. This is the overall scenario where India energy and clean cooking means. In India, we have tried. India is facing multiple challenges in this area. As we know, currently in this month and every day you are seeing there's some article about the Delhi air pollutions and all. And one of the newspaper article we got that cooking contributing second highest pollution in Delhi as on in a current scenario. So of course it is also has a health hazard. India has the about 4,80,000 premature death. 79 million people still don't have access of clean cooking. 4% of the greenhouse gases emission is coming through this area, and we in India has tried that to transform the sector with the clean cooking. 80 million devices which we have given under the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, and another 10 million is going to be given, is already going on. India also have to import fuel. LPG comes from the international market, where the opportunity comes. The DRE setup, the electric setup is actually Indianized fuel. So it is imperative, and shifting to the newer generation of cooking is the electric and solar is very much imperative. And among the developed nation, India need to adapt this. Yeah, so this is the last slide which I like to talk about. We have already talked. So one of the example we like, the solar cooking system in Shirdi Sai Baba is actually one of the oldest one. It has the 73 parabolic mirror. So the cooking is already happening, and we have 12 such sites. And today we are fortunate enough to have Dr. Chanchal Loha. He is actually he's from the CSR Simeri. He's developed the solar DC cooking, which is a complete trend. They have did the pilot, and importantly, the technology has been already licensed to the 2 companies. So which means that the ecosystem is actually ready to accept these kind of opportunities. So I will not. So I am done with my presentation, and with this, I like to invite Dr. Nick Rosso to talk about and take the session forward.
Thank you, Vimal. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for organising this. This is, as you say, the 4th of a series, and I think they're proving to be very useful discussions. And I think a good sign is the fact that the speakers are often from India and focus on India, but the delegates and the interest in this is international. I think the lessons that India is learning and the progress that you're making are very helpful for the rest of the world, and we're keen in the MECS program to continue to share lessons. And it seems actually that the energy sector is keen to work together, different utilities in different countries and different off-grid suppliers, keen to learn lessons, because everyone sees the potential from a business point of view of being able to enable people to cook with electricity, however it's generated, because that can create much more promising business models for those investing in renewable energy generation and supply, as well as all the health benefits that you referred to. So we have three very exciting speakers that I'll be introducing shortly. They're each going to talk from different perspectives, each with a practical experience and knowledge that I think will add up to a really useful session. And I'm going to ask each to speak for just 10 minutes. And then while they're speaking, if anyone would like to submit a question or a comment or a suggestion, can you do that using the chat function on MS Teams? And then once we've heard from each of the speakers, I will endeavour to stimulate a discussion where we respond to some of those chat questions and invite some comments further from each of the speakers. I think my expectation is that we'll hear about challenges, but also hopefully some success stories, and we'll end up with a positive sense of the way forward and how we can work together to derive solutions that work for many households that benefit from renewable energy. Okay, and I didn't say who I am. I'm Nick Russo, International Liaison Manager at the Modern Energy Cooking Services Programme at Loughborough University. Okay, so the first speaker is Mr. Subrahmanyam. I'm not going to have got that right, I'm afraid. Pulipaka. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Solar Energy Federation of India. And I had the pleasure of meeting him on one of our early trips to India when we could still travel. And Vimal organised some excellent meetings. So Mr. Pulipaka is he leads the NSEF of India, which is an umbrella organisation that represents solar energy companies across the whole value chain, from project developers, manufacturers, engineering companies, and financing institutions and others. So he's seen the sector for many years. He's been involved in it, and he understands the perspective of many different players involved in generating solar energy in India. And he's involved internationally in this area as well. And he's carried out extensive research on the reliability of solar voltaics for over 4 years now. And he received the BRICS Energy for Thought Young Scientist Award in 2018. So congratulations to you for that. Over to you, Mr. Pulipaka.
Thank you very much, Nick, and I hope I'm audible to all of you. It's a very momentous occasion when we are meeting today, when just over 2 months back, India has installed successfully 100 gigawatt of renewable energy, making India the fourth country in the world to achieve this feat. We are a country that extensively believes in the importance of spread as much as the growth. If that resolve can be seen from our ambitious targets, when you look into the rooftop target, when you look into the microgrids target, when you look into the way we have positioned our off-grid solutions, India has been the flag bearer of ensuring the proliferation of renewable energy happens at the grassroots level. As we speak, India is now the 5th largest country in the world when it comes to installed solar capacity, and the 4th largest country in the world when it comes to the installed wind as well as renewable energy capacity. So this is a brief context of where we are as a country now. Immediately jumping back to today's topic, the clean cooking aspect has always been an area of primary importance to the government of India, to the industry stakeholders, especially in ensuring not only you're cleaning the cooking aspects or you're ensuring that clean cooking fuel is available, but you're also talking about alleviation of urban poverty. That is something that has always been the case about, or the case that has driven clean cooking in the Indian context. Today, if you ask me, Vimal in his presentation was showing some good examples of Shirdi temple, which has the solar cooking. I would also like to mention about the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam temple back in South India from my home state, where today, on an average, at least 100,000 people have a food there, and that food is prepared via solar thermal, and that is not a mean feat. So I would here try to bring the perspective of an industry association like us on how industry stakeholders are looking at this opportunity, how the government's resolve and the industry's enthusiasm is the only result to ensure that we will have an accelerated proliferation of clean cooking. Back in 2019, late 2019, under the directions of the Prime Minister's office, the principal scientific advisor to the Prime Minister has initiated a task force to look into the possible aspects of integrating solar cooking not only in the urban context, but not only the rural context, but also in the urban context. As we speak, a working group has been created with different industrial and government stakeholders. We are very fortunate to be part of that working group. And this working group is trying to work with the technology developers, trying to work with international organizations, and also trying to work with different stakeholders to bring out solutions that can be scaled to begin with, and also implemented easily without any impediments in the Indian context. So that is a significant development I would like to highlight at this juncture. The second important thing is on uh, how we can sort of use the success story of India's off-grid proliferation and emulate it when it comes to clean cooking. Today, if you look at, we are one of the largest countries with LED solar street lights installed across the country. We are one of the largest countries when it comes to installed off-grid solar pumps, and we still have a very good program called Kusum, where in the component B of it, we still want to plan to install 2 million off-grid solar pumps. So we have to ride on this off-grid success wave when we talk about the proliferation of solar cooking solutions in the Indian context. I mean, it can be easier said than done, but we have a very good infrastructure, a government procedural system, and an industry which has an appetite to take risks and address, or rather provide solutions to the rural context. Because if you look at the solutions that are being provided in the rural area, very often than not, you come across these issues of quality, after sales service and all. And our Indian success story is a classic example where we have been addressing all these issues on real-time basis with the kind of network the Indian industry has. And I fully mean it when I say we have to ride on our off-grid success wave, take the lessons from it and implement that on ground in the rural context. I would not like to take much time. Before I conclude, I would like to sort of highlight the three aspects that I think we should keep in mind, at least coming from an industry perspective, sitting in the chair of a policy advocacy body. I should talk more things that tend to create problems on the ground. So number one is the scalability of a technology. We have seen thousands of technologies, and you will not believe, I'm sure most of you know here, we had one of the, I would say, I am not fully privy of the details, but this has come up in one of the discussions with stakeholders last year, that we did indeed have a very good solar cooker program, if I am not wrong, 10-12 years back. But because of the scalability, because of the the outreach issues, that program I would not say can be called a successful program. Albeit there are successful beneficiaries of it. There are a lot of stakeholders in the rural areas who have benefited from it. But if we cannot scale a technology that can meet common man needs, then I don't think we have any job to discuss today, any part of what we are discussing today. The second aspect is intertwined with the first one, that is the uh, outreach or sensitization. Because the beauty of clean cooking is it will involve everyone, every common man in our fight against climate change. You are giving him an high efficient fuel technology or cooking technology for cooking his food, but at the same time you are ensuring he is contributing to our fight against climate change. Now, how do you convey this message that okay, cooking is a necessity, at the same time you're saving the planet? So this kind of outreach or awareness and sensitization is something that we should very much look into, or we should focus on. I might be jumping my cue here. This might come at the end of our discussion, but I think as a having seen how India's rooftops success has been determined, I think this should be something that we should look into. The last but not the least, I would say, is uh, a policy on a overall level, but an enabling ecosystem. Because if you don't have an ecosystem and if you leave the market out to regulate by itself, it is a good idea, but in the initial times it is necessary for some kind of handholding. And I have no doubt in saying that our clean cooking journey, at least when it comes to renewables, is in an initial phase. uh, Thanks to the Prime Minister's resolve, thanks to the new schemes, the shift to the cylinders is happening. Ujjwala Yojana is a huge success in India. That can be, there is no doubt in attributing all kinds of praises to that scheme. But when it comes to the induction of or inculcating renewable energy sources into clean cooking, I think we are at a very nascent stage, and we need a ecosystem, a policy measure, or a drive from both the industry and the government to ensure that this proliferation happens. If this is not done, then we will meet here 5 years down the lane and discuss the same things again and again. So I think these are the three things I would like to sort of introduce from my side, and I'll be happy to listen from my fellow panelists. Thank you again, Nick and Vimal.
Nick, you are on mute.
Thank you. Sorry. Yep. So thank you for those remarks. A bit of challenge, but also some enthusiasm and the potential that India has to develop solutions which could have global reach is very much recognized, I think. And I think that's why we're taking such an interest in working with India. I'm really struck by the opportunity to engage people at what we call at the bottom of the pyramid in the fight against climate change. Their needs are very immediate, clearly, and they will be reluctant to sacrifice what they consider to be really important aspects of their lives to save the planet. But we can certainly engage them in that. We do a lot of research on what sort of messages are most powerful for people to see the value of changing to clean cooking. One of the other things, though, and just to mention, is the economics of this, which is often where some of the challenge comes from. We are developing in the MECS program a framework that will enable carbon credits to be secured much more easily as a result of people shifting to clean cooking. And I think that can open up some significant subsidies and some significant ways of reducing the upfront costs associated with cooking devices. But yeah, let's come back to that, certainly. And as I said earlier, if anyone wants to respond to any of these comments, do put some items in the chat, and we will keep an eye on those. Okay, our next speaker is the co-founder of Gram Orja Solutions, Mr. Anshuman Lath. Gran Orja works in remote communities, fulfilling the electricity, water and fuel needs using community-scale renewable energy installations. It started in 2008, co-founded by Mr. Lath, and since then it's installed over 320 projects across India, benefiting over 1.2 lakh lives. So there's some real experience there, and I know from the outset Mr. Lath was keen to get involved in the MECS program, see how we could work together to support the drive to clean cooking as part of these solutions that he's developed. So I welcome your comments, Mr. Lath.
Thank you, Nick, and very good afternoon to everyone, and to Mr. Pulipaka and to Mr. Roha and Vimal. I'm very pleased to be here, and I think that the MECS program is very meaningful for us, and what it aims to achieve is very, very noble indeed. So, being in the DRE sector, Gram Urja works only in distributed renewable energy across very remote areas, right from Jharkhand to Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. in the tribal belt of India, which is the central belt, addressing the needs of people with remote projects. These are all community scale projects, and I would like to just show you a few pictures to give you an idea of the terrain that we work in, and that will probably be appropriate at this stage. This is a project that we set up in 2012. It's a microgrid in a remote village, 39 households. This got the grid around 6 months ago. So for 9 years or almost 9 years, the village was dependent on the microgrid that we set up. And the first battery replacement, which came up in 2018, the villages collected the money themselves and from their collections and could change it by themselves. So this is one cycle completed, and we are seeing this in many more villages. This is again the view of one of our microgrids, again in a very remote village. Most of our microgrids, out of 85, we have 11 where the grid has reached or is there. Other 74 are still in these hamlets of 39, 40, 50, 100 households where the grid has not yet reached due to some regulatory reason sometimes, or maybe just the oversight on in some cases. A very strong component of community involvement in all our projects, where people take ownership. And if you see the terrain of these villages, you will always find that they are remote. So this is the quality of the grid, which is almost like the state approved quality in terms of safety issues that we set up inside the village. And this is in the Melghat Tiger Reserve, the buffer zone, where we've done 5 villages, and people are using electricity for small, chakkis or flour mills, as they call it, and otherwise. This is the operator of one of the villages called Sisavli in the Shahapur belt of Thane district in Maharashtra. And this is how every village or every household gets metered every month, and someone collects the readings and then produces a bill, and that money is put into the bank passbook, which kind of makes the project sustainable over a long period. A lot of these villages now also use pumps, and these are all pictures of such grids. This is the inside of the control room of one of these projects. This is Tudor inverters, and we try and do very, very high quality work so that the maintenance issues are less. One small microgrid with micro hydro turbine along with solar in one village, and so this is interesting. This is the community taking ownership. This is the Warli painting, and you see in this there are women folk doing work all over the village in the fields, and a microgrid has now come, and that is powering a pump and many other things in the village. So this is what we have seen. Some of our work is also in water, and we will come to that separately at some other point of time. What is important to this conversation today, I am just trying to also show some pictures of purely cooking based projects that we do, and these are biogas based cooking grid projects, and here we see the inside of houses earlier, and this is one large household stacking up the firewood just before the monsoon. So 4 months, this is the Western Ghats where the monsoon is quite relentless. 4 months of stacking up just before the monsoon. So you can imagine the amount of firewood that we use, and this is the cow manure available in the village, just lying around. So we have set up a few community-based biogas cooking projects, a biogas plant, and then a pipeline. So here you see a yellow line going into each household. Each house is mapped. A village called Chipia in Madhya Pradesh, where we set this up. And this is how, just like a microgrid, our learnings from the solar microgrid we have also taken to the biogas-based cooking projects, where this is now going into households with a flow meter regulator. So a key component when we look at it again is the metering, and we will come to it again. So the inside of a house looks like this with a meter, a flow, a regulator, and this is the stove inside a village. This is a village called Harahi in Jharkhand, very close to Ranchi.
Mr. Ramsuvan, sorry, actually we could not able to see your slides.
Okay. So sorry.
Biogas slides. I am very much interested to see your biogas.
Okay. I thought it was. Sorry. Let me just see if I can get it back. I'm sorry. This should have been easier. 1 second. Yeah. Can you see it now?
we can able to see the smaller picture. So can you click the double click so it will become the full screen?
Okay, this is already double clicked, but let me stop presenting and then go here, and then I don't know why that has happened. Is it possible to see it now? No. Anyway, so I mean, I will not take time to here the. So biogas is another project that we do, and I will just now look at what is relevant to today's presentation. So Gram Urja essentially has been doing projects which are community scale projects in remote areas, and the idea is to give a very high quality service. So for example, in biogas, we've been trying to fulfill or reach LPG standards in cooking. So if people can use the same amount of time for converting water into boiled water or milk to tea or whatever, that same amount of time should be with even our biogas as it was earlier with their uh, LPG or firewood. And and here what we're trying to see here is that we call something as a circle of success. We're talking of community interaction. Can you see the slide now, Mr. Vimal?
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Anshuman,
yes.
go ahead.
It is visible. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So the community interaction is a core component of all that we do, which you've already seen, that people need to own up. They need to say that, yes, we want to participate. We are willing to pay to maintain the project and to take ownership. We designed for aspiration. So, when we started doing our microgrids, we would ask people, what do you want? So, people would not ever come back saying that 2 bulbs for 4 hours a night, whatever. People wanted televisions, people wanted pumps in their villages, people wanted to run small chakkis or flour mills. People wanted something else. In some villages, we've seen photocopiers come, we've seen, people will bring a rice huller in a village and run it. So we are trying to establish aspirations and design for that, so that people use it for a 20-year period or one generation. Metering for each user is key because it brings discipline in the usage. Otherwise, people tend to overuse and people will not be able to maintain systems which are overused, because renewable energy in a DRE setup is finite energy. So you cannot design a system which has unending usage. You need to establish usage characteristics. Tariff structure, critical for, again, the discipline, because people will otherwise tend to overuse. And then the final thing is the ownership transfer in some form or the other for all of these projects, so that people continue to own these projects going forward. The whole idea is to understand the willingness and the capacity to pay of the villagers. And here is where I am trying to bring the DRE concept and the scalability concept for our cooking initiatives that we want to undertake under MECS. So when MECS, for example, wants to get Africa or DRE projects in Africa to use, also have cooking appliances, what will be key is to establish the willingness and the payment capacity to pay. Now, what has been critical in designing for a project is the seasonal variations of demand and the seasonal variations also of the supply that you can give, especially with solar, because there could be rainy months in some parts of the world. And secondly, the growth of demand. So these are two things that we always want to make sure that we have decided on day one when we design a DRE project. Now, when we look at our own projects, what we've realized is capacity utilizations, in villages with productive appliances are in the 50, 55, 60% range. And without productive appliances could be much lower, even lower than 35, 40%. And this is very, very key. See, because we have been thinking that where can this gap be filled up? So is e-mobility one, for example, or is e-cooking the other one? And this is where I think we need to work to establish some of these things. And that's where I think partnerships and understanding together. And our core strength is the ability to design, implement, and maintain projects on the ground in different kinds of communities. And from there, if we can get the learnings, we can then kind of make it available to the world to use it. Because when we look at DRE projects, what is key is that ultimately it's the local population which is going to maintain the project. It's not going to be generation at one end of the world and usage at some other end of the world. It's going to be generation and usage at that same place. So while we understand that MECS is predominantly looking at electric cooking, even the biogas experience that we've had till now with communities is going to be pretty useful, and I think that could be also shared when required. Bill collection is a mixed experience. So, what we've seen is that When the battery replacements are coming up in 5 years, 6 years, if there's a shortfall in the money that people have collected, they are able to pool together that money from the household. So whatever is the shortfall, they're able to pool together because they understand that the system must go on and this money is going to be required. What are the usage characteristics? So, fans, televisions, music systems here and there, some mobile charging, obviously, mixers. In some villages, a lot of mixers, some villages, a lot of fans, depending on the terrain that we're working in. Some schools in these areas, obviously, computers and projectors a little bit. Refrigerators have come in a lot of these villages, which we had not kind of planned for. But as long as people pay the bills, it's fine. A lot of villages have got photocopier machines. In India, for almost everything, you will require something, and they would otherwise have to travel long distances to get this.
Anshumanji, sorry, you have to be slightly faster. Yeah.
1 or 2 minutes only. Yeah. And then 40% villages which are using productive appliances are using things like pumps, flour mills, and others in these villages. So what we were trying to do with MECS is to say that can we do, some projects to understand what is the usage characteristics of electric cooking in off-grid system. So when it's a village which has the grid, it's a very different scenario because the grid has infinite energy coming in some form or the other. But in a DRE scenario, the whole design will have to be finalized only after looking at the usage characteristics. And two things there are very critical: the time of day of cooking also, because the moment you go beyond the sunlight hours, you're requiring a larger amount of battery sizing. And this is very, very critical because what we realize is that financing of such projects in a microgrid setup, these systems could be sized 2 or 3 times if cooking is important, with a very little, additional capital outlay, which could be just 25% more or 30% more, because a lot of the money has gone into the control room, the batteries, the grid itself, the house wiring, and all of that. So all of that is something which is already given. It's not relevant to the additional costing required to set up a project for cooking, which also has cooking. So, and this could spur a lot of innovation. So these are the social and technical objectives that we kind of think could be studied together. And once we study this, the reason why we're saying this is we have some idea about what it takes to cook using electricity. For example, there was a study by Terry where they did some households in Himachal Pradesh, where each household was using 82 kilowatt hour as an average of additional power for cooking if they were totally moving to cooking, to electric based cooking, which is roughly 2.7 kilowatt hours per day for a household. Whereas the same in Somalia area of Ethiopia, where we were studying and we did some project there, was closer to 5 to 6 kilowatt hours, primarily because the electricity was kind of free and there were larger families. Whereas in some cases we've seen that could be as low as 1.5, 2. So this is something that the technical objectives would clearly try and establish the time of day of cooking and the total quantum of electricity required, which could be used. And we propose some sites which are like 130 households, 93 households, large systems, 22 kilowatt peak and 18 kilowatt peak, but that's not the core issue. My idea being that this will give us inputs for design. You try to see if there's a certain amount of money people are willing to pay for cooking, e-cooking, electric-based cooking. Can that be used to make the system more viable, and commercial capital in some form could come in? I think one very good initiative Nick talked about is the carbon credits. And the good part about DRE-based cooking is that in DRE also, the kind of DRE we are talking about, community scale, each and every household could be measured. So that measurability is so critical to pilots, and that's something that we think we can establish. So these inputs would help us think about a longer scale up in Africa and other parts of the world going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, there's a lot there, and your practical experience is really valuable working on the ground in these communities. I was interested to hear the point you make about how establishing the infrastructure, the inverters and everything else, means that then scaling up the capacity of the array is a relatively lower cost development, and that's quite an important observation. I think we're certainly getting a lot of interest from other companies around Africa in the mini grid sector. One of the biggest challenges, I think, is where people can use firewood, which is essentially economically free, although it takes up a lot of time. I think that's a harder market to get into with clean cooking solutions. But Matt, who's on the line, was involved in some extensive modelling work that we did, looking at the different economic conditions and how, as the economics change and the cost of solar arrays, the cost of storage reduce, and maybe the cost of charcoal and other fuels increases, it can start to become much more attractive for people. So yeah, there's a lot there, a lot to think about, and we would love to work with you on a pilot. Sadly, as Vimal touched on at the start, we don't have the funds that we used to have, but we can certainly see if we can help to set something up across the partnerships that we're working with. I better make sure I allow time for Dr. Loa, though, who's our last panelist, and he, I believe, has some experience of setting up a solar cooking facility. So Dr. Loa did his PhD at Jadavpur University in Kolkata, and his research and his publications focus on solar energy-based cooking systems and combustion, gasification and pyrolysis, clean coal technology, and energy from bypass and CFD modeling of gas multi-phase flow. I don't know what half those things mean, but I'm sure it does. Dr. Loa, could you share your experience and your thoughts, please, on clean cooking?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thank you very much. So is it visible, my screen?
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
Yeah. So today I will talk about one of our recent development at CSIR Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute. We are situated at West Bengal, Durgapur. So we are the only mechanical engineering research laboratory under CSIR. So our project is basically solar energy development of solar energy based cooking system, and I was the PI. I am Dr. Chanchal Loa. Along with me, Dr. Parthasarathi Pal is there, who is the co-PI of this project. So just I will give a brief background why we have taken this project. So India has made rapid progress in boosting the economy during last few decades. And LPG is mostly populated as the clean cooking options to replace the traditional biomass and coal-based cooking, which leads a lot of pollutions. But LPG also, we know that it is also a fossil fuel derived energy, and it produces CO2, which causes global warming. And currently, from a report we have, we came to know that we are currently experiencing 1 degree global warming, which is causing our extreme heat waves, rainfall, so many catastrophic storms, and so many dangers. So, which is damaging our lives as well as asset in our country. And it is estimated that if India faces this 2 degree global warming, then it will lose around 2.6% of its GDP. And if it goes to 3 degree, then it will lose a huge 13.4 degree or 4% of GDP. Therefore, it is very much important. So basically, this climate change is harming us, our development. It is one of the barriers for our development. So this is the time to develop the low carbon credit technologies. That's why we have taken up this project. This basically this project, that is solar energy based cooking system. This project was given from PMO, that is our Prime Minister Office. From our PMO, it is given to our CSIR, and we have been assigned as the PI and to work in this project. And it was a very short duration project. It has been asked to develop such a system within 6 to 9 months. So, and also with some objectives was also provided, like this cooking system which we need to develop. That cooking system, with this cooking system, the user should be able to cook inside the house, inside the kitchen. And cooking system should be made of for indoor application, and it is for household cooking, not for community purpose. Okay? And it should address all the cooking processes, like normally we do boiling, steaming, frying. So all type of cooking should be done. And the utility of the system should be need based. That is, anytime there's cooking should be done. That means daytime and night time. So there should be some storage device. And after studying a lot of things and doing a number of trial and error, finally we came to our solar DC based cooking system. So we have developed this solar DC cooking system. This is our solar DC cooking system. The basically the cooking system, electric cooking system or cooking heating coils which are available in the market, they are rated at 220 volts, so which cannot be operated directly with the DC output of the battery. We need a converter or inverter, and also for this induction also we need a converter and inverter between batteries and this cook stove. But here we have designed and developed our own heating coils along with this cook stove, so that it can directly run with a lower DC voltage of around 48 volt, and it can produce as high as 1000 to 1200 watt, which is sufficient for cooking any type of food. And we have also tested it with our thermal imaging camera, the temperature developed within this coil. So we can see that within 1 minute, it produces around 400 degrees centigrade. And within 3 minutes, the maximum temperature can reach up to 650. So some of the salient features just I want to highlight. Like it is a very simple and compact design, and there is no noise and vibration in it. And also it provides sufficient heat for cooking for all type of cooking, as I already mentioned. And there is no inverter, so we have eliminated any inverter converter. And there are two-step regulation, so we can the user can regulate it between 1200 and 700 watt. It is DC operated, so there is no fear of any getting any electric shock and anything. And this is a properly insulated cook stove. So we can see from this temperature profile also that within this region, though the maximum temperature is 650, but minimum temperature is 32 degrees centigrade. So it is very convenient to use. User can touch it easily at the outside. And we have the battery backup. So within this box, we have the battery bank. So the solar energy is stored in this battery so that it can be used in any time during day or night. So this is basically it provides the most clean cooking system and clean cooking environment, and most importantly, it does not require any fuel. So just a small video of cooking, how we have tested it for cooking normal foods in West Bengal like rice and dal. So this is very much suitable for a small family of 3 to 4 persons. So you can see after 8 minutes, this rice it was boiled properly. And then we have also prepared dal.
Dr. Loha, I'm not able to hear. Is other people can hear him?
You cannot see the videos?
I can see the video, but your voice is not coming properly. Yeah.
Okay. So we have also prepared dal, so without pressure cooker. So one is with pressure cooker, one is without pressure cooker. So it took around 10 minutes. Okay, now I'm coming to the cost, which is the one of the most important aspect here. So this cook stove, which we have designed and developed, it cost around 5,000. So we have developed 1 or 2 prototypes. So if we go for mass production, it can reduce up to 4,000. And other subsystems requirement is like solar PV panels, batteries, and charge controller. And the price for this subsystem will depend based on the requirement. For example, if someone needs to cook for 2 hours and he needs a battery backup of 1.5 hours, then these systems will cost 35,000. So 35 plus 5, so it will be total 40,000. Similarly, if the cooking time increases like 4 hours and backup time 1.5 hours, it will be 47 plus 5. So it will be like 52. And again, the maximum, that is 4 hour running time along with 2.5 hour cooking backups, it will cost 60,000 plus 5, that is 65,000. Now we have also calculated the levelized annual cost of cooking for this type of system. For example, suppose I want to use this solar DC cooking system for another 25 years, and my friend, he want to use LPG. So there is a comparison we have tried to show. So the LSCC of this solar DC cooking system, it will come around 8,400. So the person who will use this solar DC cooking system, he needs to pay 8,400, including everything, your upfront cost, maintenance cost, battery replacement, everything. So if we calculate it for 25 years and divide it with per years, then it will come 8,400 without any subsidy. And if 25% subsidy is given by the government for the initial installation, then it will come around 7,750. And if 50% subsidy is given, then it will come around 7,100. Like presently, government is giving subsidy for solar energy based agricultural farms. Their central government is, I think, giving 30% subsidy, and state government 30%, and also the bank loan is given 30%, as already earlier panelists mentioned, under this Kusum scheme, I think that is there. So here also, if this type of subsidies are given, then it will be a very attractive options, I think. And same way, if someone is to continue with the LPG, then as per the current cost, he needs to pay around 9,500. So around 10 cylinders per year, I have assumed. So with the similar capacity, so it will be 9,500. So in that case, it will be it is attractive. It's quite attractive. And we have tried to demonstrate our technology in many places to popularize this technology. We have demonstrated to our DGCSR. We have also demonstrated our Honorable Minister of State, Minister of Education. We have installed one prototype at Asansol Braille Academy. And most importantly, we have successfully transferred our technology to two MSME sectors who are involved in solar business. One is MECS Solar and Infrastructure Associate, and another is Asansol Solar and LED House. So we can see there are a lot of potential, and there are many applications of this type of cooking systems. Like it can be used for household cooking. This type of system can also be used for roadside vendors for cooking different type of foods. It can also be used, it can be customized for water heating in hotels. It can also be customized for laundry vendors, for ironing the clothes. And most importantly, it will be much more beneficial in hilly and far-flung areas where this transportation is difficult, where transportation of LPGs cost more to the people. So in that case, in that regions, it will be much more beneficial. So thank you. So this is our development. So I am very much thankful to Finovista for giving this opportunity to present in front of the people like
Thank you.
entities like National Solar Energy Federation, and also the another is Gram Urja Solution, who are basically involved to popularize this type of technology. So we are ready to hear from them. So we are scientists, so we can develop at the lab level, but we need the support from you, so that it can be taken from the lab to the actual ground, actual society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Exciting potential there. I'm just conscious of time, and some people will have to go in a couple of minutes. We do have some questions to come through about the battery type and capacity, and also the efficiency of your heating coil system as a induction cooking. Are you able to comment on either of those, please?
Yeah. So the efficiency of that cook stove, that is heating coil, that is around 75%. We have tested it in our laboratory. And the battery backup, as I mentioned, there are three options. One is battery backup 1.5 hours or 2.5 hours. It is depends on the requirement of the users. So that is already standard available in the market. So that will depend upon what the user needs.
And presumably the system could run off a mini grid. It doesn't have to run off its own individual solar array.
It is standalone, yes.
Yeah. And then there's a question about whether you've had any piloting in the field of this. Have you been able
not yet. We are that's why we are here. So we want to go forward.
Okay. Yes, and there's a question from Vimal about carbon finance. I think this is something which is, there's no simple answer to this in terms of the kind of level of financing that you can secure. I think it's a negotiation between the vendor of the carbon and the purchaser. Okay, have we got any more questions? And I think there was, coming back to the original challenge about scalability, I think that's another unknown, isn't it, with these solutions which are at an early stage. If they are simple and they are low maintenance but high quality, then hopefully they are easier to maintain, easier to manufacture around the country. And from what you described, it sounded like a system that people would easily be able to understand. I think, again, outreach is going to be critical. I think everyone agrees what we need is some real world pilots to test these ideas and to learn practically what works and what doesn't. Maybe we should facilitate some further discussion between you all to see if we can put something together as a proposal for funding. I think that's something that we'd be happy to help with if we can. Any other questions people want to raise or suggestions, having heard the speakers? No? Okay. I think, for me, it was really helpful to have the three speakers together. Certainly, there's an appetite amongst the mini-grid community to get involved in this and to be connected with solutions such as Dr. Lower's that have potential. And I think there needs to be some initial conversations to say, what does this tell us about where the load would be highest on different arrays and what's possible as a result of that. I think it's hard to judge the willingness to pay, which I think was the other challenge that was raised, without pilots. I know that in many cases you start off with maybe one household in a community that is interested and willing to try something, and that will be able to show it. I quite like the idea of the cooking device being used for street vendors or for essentially for commercial use, because I think that's where someone would get a lot more value from the device if they use it to then sell food products, food dishes within the community or to the traveling community, and the kind of economics of it would seem very promising from that point of view. So I think, yeah, we can have this is a really encouraging discussion, and we need to carry it on. So Vimala, we should talk about how we can facilitate that. But I'm going to thank you all again for your contribution. I think it's been really helpful, and I'm confident we will continue to work together. Vimala, do you want to add any final remarks?
Yes, so thank you, Dr. Nick, thank you, Dr. Roha, thank you, Mr. Pulipaka and Mr. Anstruman. We had a really very insightful discussion, and we look forward to have such more engagements. And the fifth topic would be focusing on the carbon finance, how we can actually support these devices through the carbon finance. So we'll be looking forward for another interesting session, and thank you for your support. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Vimal. Thank you, Nick. It was